towns that I savor, like my hometown that I favor, that old place down the long road that I'm traveling to. There's the jokes at the barber, told by Cleve from the hardware, about the stories that always make the news. Our town, wherever I may roam, I'll always have a place that I call home. Our town, it's very plain to see, there'll always be a part of you in me.
Wellington County offered many resources and opportunities to the people of the last century who came to call this area home.
Hello, I'm Barry Penhale. On this occasion, I find myself in the very heart of Fergus, enjoying the beauty of the Templin Gardens, a restored English garden situated on the very edge of the Grand River Gorge. The Scottish heritage of this southern Ontario town is greatly in evidence through its many limestone buildings, historical plaques, and the largest single Highland Games in all of North America. Small wonder that many visitors to Fergus consider this community to be a wee bit of Scotland.
The story of Fergus's earliest beginnings was penned in travel records published in Edinburgh, Scotland in the mid-1830s. The author was Adam Ferguson, and the books were among the best written accounts of travel in Canada in their day. Ferguson, a founder of the Highland Society of Scotland and a leader of agricultural life, was impressed with the opportunities the new country offered. He envisioned a model town, utopia, with ideal conditions. Even the inhabitants would have to measure up to this standard, hand-picked men with character and money. He found a young partner, James Webster, and with others left Scotland in search of a dream. Arriving in Canada, they began to look for suitable land. They came upon Little Falls. For them, this spot had everything: water power to drive mills, black loam soil, and natural springs, a valuable resource for future distilleries. Available lumber and limestone would provide the material from which their homes would be built. This was the place they had been looking for. Ferguson and Webster arranged the purchase of over 7,000 acres. Energetic and open in the expression of his beliefs, Ferguson was later elected to the Legislative Council of Upper Canada and was responsible for the formation of the Board of Agriculture. Little Falls soon came to be called Fergus. One early settler of the area, A.D. Fordyce, left us with these visual representations of what the region looked like. The town had been established as an agricultural, self-sufficient Scots Presbyterian society. Ferguson, by this time, lived with his family in Waterdown, while Webster oversaw the physical development of the new settlement. He was later to press for the admittance of others from different lands. By mid-century, Fergus was beginning to grow, with mills, tanneries, distilleries, and the first newspaper, the Fergus Freeholder, which boasted the motto, "The glorious privilege of independence." As a carryover from the homeland, brisk curling matches were played in the center of the village on St. Andrew Street in front of U Black's Tavern. Later in the century, the Beatty name came to be interpreted as the economic backbone of the town. The Beatty Brothers Limited, with George Beatty, his brother Matthew, and George's wife Martha, built this enterprise which would have a lasting effect on the town and its people. The Beatty Brothers' name became known nationwide. How many people to this day could forget these products for home and farm that were state-of-the-art at the turn of the century? The Beatty influence in the workplace became legendary. Diet, place of worship, and social habits were dictated as part of the terms of employment. With the coming of the railway and the prosperity of industry, the town never looked back. By 1885, the population had grown to 2,000 industrious inhabitants.
The old steam whistle has long gone, but it probably was missed by a few. Everybody set their time of day by, and it was a start and finish for everything in the community.
Descendants of Ferguson's time carry the torch of community pride in Fergus today. Bob Kerr's tour included the recently restored Templin Gardens, originally constructed in 1920 by J.O. Templin, editor of the Fergus News Record.
The river is, in this part, is where the only gorge is, and that runs between Fergus and just west of Elora. As we come close to the dam here, this is a very good fishing spot for people, and on the weekends, usually quite a chore to get a spot on the bank to fish. For all my life, I've been here except for a short time away, and have lived on the banks of the beautiful Grand River, and enjoyed as a youngster all the things that one does, rafting and fishing and playing in the various limestone caves along the banks here. It's been a great place to grow up, great place to raise a family, and to retire back to, enjoying it very much.
The Beatty influence is still evident throughout the town. Originally a Beatty wood products plant, this building now serves as a farmer's market. Concessions between the company and the town proved lasting and harmonious. Beatty's constructed a swimming pool in the 1930s. Located next to one of their plants, it was heated by boiler pipes running underground. Fondly remembered is the gifted coach, Bert Crockett, who taught swimming to generations of children. The pride and tradition is very much present here. The main thoroughfare of St. Andrew Street is the center of commercial establishments, which present many reminders of the town's ancestral origins. Amongst the earliest ongoing family businesses, John Thompson and Son has served many generations of customers since the late 1800s. Andrew Forrester, an early stonemason, once stated, "After a house was built of limestone, it took a year or so to cure, and then would stand for centuries." These buildings most certainly prove his theory. I met with James Gow, a longtime resident, who over coffee spoke of Fergus's built heritage.
My great-grandfather, James Gow, the same name as myself, emigrated to Canada in 1840 and died in Guelph, which is about 12 miles from here, in 1854. He had a large family of sons, and all of the sons had, at one time or another, something to do with building houses or public buildings in Fergus. Well, I'm sure when you look at the buildings in this town, they remind you of Scotland, and well, they might, because the early settlers of this town were from Scotland, and their stonemasons, of course, were from Scotland. And when they built a building, they simply replicated the style and manner of construction that they were familiar with back in the old country. There are many buildings on this street that have their counterparts in Edinburgh or Callander or other places in Scotland. I really think they merit preservation because of their uniqueness, because of their beauty, because of their attraction to tourists, because of the sort of old world ambience they give to this town. I have a feeling for what it was like, a feeling for the work, a feeling for the skill that went into it, a feeling for the sense of good workmanship.
All of the factors that James Gow describes makes one appreciate buildings such as these more as an art form, which represented an expression of an individual. The creative expression of one resident has resulted in a most unique approach to history telling. Pat Mestern's Fergus has been captured in two intriguing works.
I ended up writing Clara and Anna, who were two people who actually lived in the community. They're not fictional characters. And they are historical fiction with a little bit of a twist, shall I say. I'd say 25% fact, 75% fiction. It makes for a very interesting reading. It tells about some of the little incidences that happened in the community and some of the characters that lived in the community without going into a lot of great detail. Clara was actually the daughter of Thomas Young, the first postmaster. She was born in the 1850s in the Victorian era, but she didn't really want to be a very nice Victorian lady. She was a tomboy, and she simply just did not conform to what a Victorian woman should be, and consequently had some problems in the community, but she was quite a lady. And Anna was a young woman who lived in Fergus, but who was born in the poorhouse in the Wellington County home. She was a very unique young woman too, and just one of the many characters in Fergus. Both of them were typical of some of the characters in the community between 1850 and the turn of the century.
What does Fergus mean to Pat Mestern?
It means a lot to me because I was born into the community, and it's a unique little community in that it's so friendly, it's so pleasant, it's quiet, it's everything. It's just small town Ontario, but it's just a beautiful place. I can't say any more about it.
Old world charm along the Grand River Gorge is most certainly what makes this place special. To the people of Fergus, their caring is spoken every day. There are many stories and personalities connected with Fergus that make up the character of the town's colorful origin. Fergus boasts the oldest curling club in Ontario. The first stones were cut from trees in the area and turned on a lathe in the sawmill. Moving from the center of St. Andrew Street, competitive bonspiels between Fergus and nearby Elora were later held in winter on the frozen section of river known as the Washing Green. Dr. Abraham Groves was a pioneer surgeon who practiced here for over 60 years and founded the Royal Alexandra Hospital. Gaining considerable fame as a surgeon, Groves is accredited with performing the first appendectomy in history, as well as being the first to sterilize instruments by boiling. From the published works of resident A.D. Ferrier, printed in 1866, we have inherited the most descriptive accounts of the early settlement of Upper Canada. At the top of Tower Street, St. Andrew's Church, built in 1834, was the first church between Guelph and Georgian Bay. The churchyard, enclosed by a stone wall, is the resting place of many of the town's original founders. One lone tombstone, visited today by many, marks the grave of George Clephane. His life was short and wayward. Deeply stricken by his death, his sister Elizabeth in Scotland described him as the lost sheep in the matchless hymn, "There were 99."
Just as lovely old stone buildings are part of the heritage of Fergus, another ongoing tradition involves the Fergus Brass Band. A newspaper account tells the story of how this remarkable band led the Fergus Rifle Company to Guelph at the time of the Fenian Rebellion. Now that's history.
Proud to wear the band leader's white cap for 40 years is Art Lee.
We figure that it is the oldest band in continuous operation in Ontario. Oh, the band practice is every Tuesday night. We don't even break for summer holidays. The boys keep coming no matter if some are on holidays. The rest show up, and 52 weeks of the year. Now, as far as the bandsmen are concerned, we have in the area of 30 bandsmen at the present time, and I would have to say 24 to 26 are what you might call real regular members. And of the members we have, 17 of them have been members of the band for over 20 years. Now, the Highland Games comes to Fergus every year, and we're the only brass band that's allowed on the premises that particular day. They have to have someone to play O Canada and the Queen, which is something that the bagpipes haven't been able to do yet. We march down the main street with the pipe band to the park, and we play together, which we've done now for maybe the last 10 years. We have some music that has been handwritten over the years and handed down, and we play along with the pipes. And it sounds not too bad. Well, as far as the band and myself is concerned, the band has pretty well been my life. I've been in it since I was 11 years old. I am now 65, and as long as I get my teeth, I'll likely stay in the band. When I lose my teeth, I might end up playing the bass drum, but I'll be around for a few years yet.
To the south.
As a chieftain to these Highland Games, John Allen Cameron contributes much to the ceremony.
To the west. I hereby declare these games officially open.
Established in 1946, the Fergus Games represent the past and present of this community. Over 40,000 visitors annually make a pilgrimage to witness the largest Highland Games in all of North America, bringing together competitors from Europe, the USA, and Canada. The color is spectacular. The event unsurpassed. Little Falls has evolved and matured from that wee little tune first cited by Ferguson and Webster. The Fergus of today is a community that clearly cherishes the values of tradition and roots.
I'll see the folks up on Main Street who will always take the time for a story over coffee at the old Five and Dime. The flag on our town hall through the years has flown free, a tribute to our hometown's history. Our town, wherever I may roam, I'll always have a place that I call home. Our town, it's very plain to see, there'll always be a part of you in me. There'll always be a part of you in me. There'll always be a part of you.